This episode is brought to you by Mortgage Workflow Partners and the Mastering Encompass series, both for users as well as administrators. You can find out all the information about it over at masterengencompass.com. Also, if you'd like to check out what we're doing on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel using the @MasteringEncompass handle. And make sure you stay up to date on all the information, not just with podcasts, but also video content that we bring to you as often as possible. Now let's get on to the episode. Hey, welcome everyone. My name is Larry Bailey. Here it is Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to get together as a community on the masterengencompass.com. And we meet for about an hour. I am going to be talking about today how to create and manage a help desk that actually trains people too. I've got some things prepared. I'm feeling good. It's the first Tuesday after a holiday weekend. Some people have off this week. Those lucky people. So we're going to continue to allow people to come in. Couple of housekeeping items here. First of all, thank you very much for coming. These are great to have you part of, but are also great to have you interact with. So there's two ways to interact with what we're doing today. The first is the Q&A section. So if you have a question, feel free to type that question in. I'll see that on my side, and then we can answer it, and I can post the answer, kind of a thing. We can also do chats, right? And so if you want to just do a chat, you can use the chat function there as well. There'll be people coming and going. If you're watching this on replay and you have more questions than answers from watching what we are going to present, please make sure that you just go ahead and continue to use the community to post those questions on the thread in the resource center for what it's posted to, and we'll get going. Cool. So it happened to be that I created this series for the first half of the year back in February, I think. And so as the universe predicts everything here, this is the last mentioned lesson for the first half of the year. So basically up through beginning, end of May. We are going to be doing this kind of formatting for the rest of the year. We're going to be doing more of workshops. So stay tuned for that post. The goal is to have that out here for starting Monday. So our next one will be 2 weeks from today. And they're going to be workshops of how to build this or how to build that. So for anybody who watches those channels on cable where it's like, how do I build this thing? That's what we're going to be doing. So stay tuned for that. Today's whole conversation is really going to be about starting that conversation. And the first thing I wanted to talk about was how to create and manage a help desk. I also advocate strongly for how to use that as a training mechanism. So for those that are on the call today, it looks like there's about 23 of us, give or take 24. Who uses, for the show of hands with the hand thing inside Teams, who uses an actual help desk piece of software? So everybody's a help desk, right? So that's kind of a gimme. But who uses a help desk piece of software? And some examples might be something like Zoho Desk or Zendesk or Freshdesk or Jira or you name it, right? Awesome. So assuming that everybody's participating in our little game today, we had about 5 people out of 20. So about what's that, 20%, right? 5 times 4. So about 20%. So that means 80%-ish are either not paying attention and not playing with us or aren't using an actual ticketing platform. And that's an interesting situation. Earlier today on the Mastering Encompass Admins course, we talked about this topic as well in a lot more detail than what we're going to cover here. And the concept really was about how you leverage what you have to create this sense of a help desk. So I can tell you that going back to my years at American Financial Resources back in 2013, this was back when Smartsheet was like on beta, a long time ago. And so what we had at the time, I think maybe Office 365 maybe was just coming out. Those that know history can keep me straight on that. But there was no sense of a unified online way to gather information together other than a ticketing platform. And at the time, I'm sure there were services out there, but at the time I couldn't find one that worked, kind of a thing. So I created this whole process of using Smartsheet at the time to basically create a form and ingest the information. And I did a lot of it. I did a lot of work with that, which I'm going to talk about today. So before we get into again the solution, I want to talk about the problem. And so I'm going to share a screen here, and give me a thumbs up. You guys see in the screen, it should be saying how to create and manage a help desk that actually trains people too. Good deal. Thank you, those with thumbs up. And I'm going to talk us through this document, not because I have it in front of me, but because of what it represents. So the context here is, what is a help desk? And this is very important when you're thinking about how you're supporting and who you're supporting. A help desk just represents, to me, a way to aggregate people who think they need my help. The word desk to me is always there because it's just one of those endemic words that we use historically to represent a group of people that is there to help, ergo help desk. But the idea is, what are they supposed to be doing? Now, this topic, this definition of scope is critically important. I've seen a lot of companies spiral into chaos because someone didn't define what the help desk is really meant to do. I'll give you a good example. There are some companies that have TPOs, third-party originators, going straight into a help desk situation. There's other companies that actually do not allow for that, and they go right to the account executive. Same thing with borrowers. Those that are doing retail, I can tell you that Mortgage Workflow Partners, our help desks, we give the option to our clients. We will walk directly with borrowers to help them through their situation. We will also help directly with third-party originators. So the idea of what is right for a company has to be defined. In addition to that, the support hours. This is the other thing that gets really, really confused because it's not defined. So hours also represents time zones. So like as an example, again, with when I came out with the help desk for what we do at Mortgage Workflow Partners, it was important to know that we had zero confusion about when the customer could get help. So for us, it's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday, Eastern time zone. Done. I don't want to have a situation where somebody is looking for help and they're expecting somebody to be there and nobody responds, because that sucks when you're on the I need help end. It also sucks when you're on the I give help, but somebody asks for help outside my hours and everybody's upset. So what I want you to define is in this section is definition of what you're doing on your support desk, and then also when is that desk actually going to be responsible to respond. Now, this next one here, again, as you have questions, for those that are just showing up, there's two ways to ask any questions and interject. Again, this is usually talking because nobody asks questions, but it's really meant to be a collaborative conversation. So if you have any questions about anything I'm covering, please speak up. And if you want me to take you off, enable your mic or your video, no problem. Otherwise, you can use the chat or the Q&A. All right, so this next part, I don't really care about this. I don't care about the platform you use. Do whatever works for you. I can tell you that there's some companies who use Office 365 and they have Teams. They set up a Teams channel because they don't want it going through direct chat. They want it into a Teams chat so everybody can help. I also know plenty of people that create, support at mortgageworkflowpartners.com or whatever. This tool that you use is going to be specific. As I'm always going to tell you, the workflow comes first. Worry about technology second. The one that's not on here is also called Spiceworks. That's free. You can get a free version of Trello. You can get Basecamp for $11, or now it's $15 a month. You don't have to pay for something. All I care about is that you're aggregating that information into one place. I'm going to talk about why that's important. What I want you to remember is aggregate all of your help requests and resolutions into one place. Now, the takeaway here is if you're going into one place, you get to build a knowledge base. And this is where the training comes in. Anybody, quick pop quiz here. For those that are using some type of ticketing platform, are you actually consistently recording how you fixed what the problem was in there? And if you don't answer yes, like if you're like, no, we don't do that, you don't have to say no. You can just say, if you do, yes, go ahead, raise your hand, kind of a thing. There are plenty of companies, thank you, Luba. There are plenty of companies that don't do that. And again, we had about 5 folks that said they had ticketing platforms. We had about 2 folks say that they actually record the resolution. This is everything, gang. If you're taking the time to go over here and build a help desk, and you're choosing a platform and you're telling your people how to activate that how to activate that service, and then you're not recording a place for them to go search before they need help, take a moment and stop and think about that. I really want you to consider it. We all see common errors in Encompass. We all do. We all know, like, hey, I'm trying to finish this milestone and it's not letting me finish. What's up? Or, hey, I'm getting this error for this field ID. What is it? So instead of just hitting Control G, they actually have some place to go search. Well, what is field 1, 2, 3, 4? Right? What about new rollouts? So who's got, again, show of hands here, who's got like a SharePoint thing or a community, a network drive that you share stuff on? You're out there and you're posting information and you're hoping they go find it. You're hoping. Is your platform that you're using, that you're posting PDFs to, can your search utility see inside the PDF? If not, make sure you're putting the information somewhere else in there so that when they do go search, they can find the PDF that has the bullet point steps. So that's an important part of the conversation. So I have to use my glasses to see the small text. Yeah, yes, I'm getting that old. So the idea here is, like, when I go through and I built out the masteringencompass.com, like the AI agent as an example, the reason why it returns a ton of information in there is because I made sure that because it does not see inside PDFs. It's actually a really technical thing to have a search engine crawl through the PDF. Office 365 does a phenomenal job of this. Like, as an example, Teams will search inside of a PDF. Encompass, actually, if you have new doc viewer, Encompass can actually search inside of a PDF. But if you have a knowledge base, please make sure you check to see what your technical capabilities are. This is one of the reasons why I do video so much in my responses, because in the masteringencompass.com environment, in that community, the transcript automatically happens and the transcript is searchable, which makes the entire thing searchable. So just keep that in mind of how are you creating all of this work that you've agreed that is important for you to do. How are you creating that into something that's searchable? Okay. And Lynn just said, just for everybody else, we just had a meeting recently. People asked us to put all the instructions in OneNote because it's easier to search. There's a lot you're going to find, Lynn, who uses OneNote in their operations. You're going to find a couple of hands at least, right? so OneNote, there's one particular community member who built up a phenomenal workflow in their company, and everything's on OneNote, Lynn. The reason why is because OneNote's a Microsoft product. OneNote will actually go through and look inside of all Office documents, including PDF. So yeah, so one of the amazing things about OneNote is if you put a PDF in there, it crawls it and it documents all the data that's in that PDF, so that if anybody goes searching, it's there. Lynn, that's the reason why they're asking for that. So does it mean you need to come up with something different? Maybe not, but just keep in mind, OneNote is something that is hard to scale. So imagine people are finding stuff from version 22.3. How do you stop them from finding those answers when you need them to find the answer from 25.2, right? For those that are using OneNote, how do you do that? It's a tough question. And so it's one of the things that, again, I talk about with the knowledge base. Sometimes it's not in here in the presentation because it's kind of deep. But you need to be sure that you know how to unwind knowledge in your knowledge base when that knowledge is no longer correct. You know, if you go find a training video that I produced on version 20, it might be okay. It's probably not. It's probably not. There might be some part of it that's okay to still listen to, but it's probably not going to be valid or truthful anymore. So let's get into the next things. And this is where, again, this is where we need to make sure that you're building this thing up properly. And the reason why is because when you build out a help desk that you're going to train, you need to also understand how to segment out those situations. And so there's tiers on here, and you can do it a few different ways. But the idea is make sure that you do tier out your kind of support. And the reason why you want this is for scale. So if you're growing a company, you're eventually going to want to say to somebody who doesn't have all of the skill sets fluid, give them maybe the lower tier work to go work on their skill sets. And then if you get something that's really outside of their skill sets or whatever the other choices are in the list, then you can take on that. If you're the lead admin or you've got somebody else, maybe you've got a developer that gets this kind of a thing, but you get all these things. However you break it up, I don't care. But I want you to care. I want you to be able to get these things segmented out. And I'm going to talk about reporting here, which really develops into that training platform. Number 5, assigning roles. This goes back to the beginning of setting up expectations. I can tell you plenty of help desks I've seen kind of implode to a point where they're not really sure about who's working on which one. A good example of this would be you've got a somebody who's really good at custom desktop input forms, and you give them a web input form ticket. They don't have those skill sets. Why did you give it to them? Well, if you didn't have that documented, why wouldn't you give it to them? Same thing goes if you get into scheduling. If you don't have, if you're covering a large swath of time, if you don't know what schedules are going to be covered by which people, if there's tickets that were created but they were left unfinished, how do you get them to the right person when that other person left for the day, but you still have somebody here available? So when you get into these situations, I know this sounds like you're creating a whole nother thing, right? I'm getting pretty deep. But the idea is that you're there to help your teams. And the more you can help your teams focus on getting these parts done, the more time you'll have to actually do some of the building work, some of the creation work that is very important in our roles. All right, so let's talk about how do you get these tickets in. Now, again, quick show of hands, who gets emails for tickets? In other words, you don't log into a ticket system, you just get an email or a Teams message for support if somebody needs you, right? Go ahead, show of hands. I rely upon this too personally. If somebody needs me, I'm like, well, just send me an email, right? So about a third. And I imagine it's more than that, but so Archie, when you go through and you say Jira, that means that you're not paying attention to your email. You're only paying attention to Jira. True or false? So the idea here is that you make them put in a ticket. That's totally fine. Totally fine. Thank you very much, Archie. So if you have a ticketing platform that has that interface, forcing a user to go someplace to enter this information is okay. It's okay. Just make sure that it's the right way to do it. So in other words, when you go through, creating an intake or escalation workflow, it might look like something like this, right? And so when we talk about building out an intake form, basic information, but don't go crazy. This is all I care about. And again, I'm going to treat you like a sales team. All I care about is I know who I'm talking to. I know their best contact information, and I know what the heck's going on. Detailed description. Ideally, if there's a category they can choose from, fine. If they can attach screenshots, they're my favorite person ever. I don't really care about their priority level, but some people do. But the idea is when you create these constructs for your users to interact, I want you to remember that they're only doing that because you told them to, and they're going to do the least amount as a normal human being to get it into you. Because remember, they don't know what to do. You don't know if they've been tackling that problem for 2 minutes or 2 seconds or 2 days. You have no idea. And so depending on the level of urgency, they're going to react accordingly. And so, there's an example here where maybe it goes to your compliance team first, and then maybe it goes to your admin at your company, and then maybe it goes to ICE after that. But the idea is create that form, and again, as Luba puts in, they send over an email, it converts to a ticket. Archie makes them put in a ticket. I can tell you that from our end, we have the same thing that Luba says. We use Zoho Desk for all of our help centers, and it's an email that converts into a ticket, because I'm not going to force everybody to do something my way. I want to meet them where their problem is. Okay, so you've got the tickets in. We're working on it. Now we got to go and build some diagnostics. So when you are working on the idea of something is broken, screenshots are okay, right? That's fine. Maybe even they do a video if they're really, really, really fancy. But the idea is if we don't really understand what's happening inside of that ticket, then we don't really know where to look. Question for everybody here in the meeting today. Again, there's about 32 of us. For those that have testing instances and production instances, if you go and find that there is a trouble ticket in production, are you looking for that resolution in production, or are you typically, or are you going to a test environment to see if you can figure out how to fix it? So, quick, for those that have an actual process to go into your testing environment to figure out what the solution should be, is there anybody on this call that does that? Because it's extraordinarily rare. So if it's not you, I understand. Candace says it depends on what the problem is. That's fair. That's a fair response. And Luba does the same thing. Depends if it's a new rule, test first. So the idea is if there's something breaking, a lot of times when we are trying to work through this, we don't have a reliable way to reproduce that problem in test, mostly because it's tied to a loan. It's tied to a loan problem. And so that's what I was actually, I know it's a test environment. That's a good one too. But the idea I'm trying to bring up here is if you are going through and you are the type of larger organization where you do have like a UAT, a test, a production kind of a thing, and you're looking at troubleshooting, I'm always going to suggest you go and actually find the problem in production. If you have a policy of making that update in test first and then promoting, totally support that. But for those that do have multiple environments, I will almost always suggest looking for the problem to be recreated in production, even if you have a testing environment that's solidly in line with production, just to make sure you understand what's going on. Reporting. I did a little thing with the admin class earlier today, and I talked about reporting and actually we didn't present it. I had it presented, but we didn't have time. I lost time on that one. So the idea is to make sure that you've got all this information in one place to do the reporting. There was about 1,000 tickets over the last quarter that I went through on Friday because I had nothing else to do. And the idea was, how are we doing on the tickets that are coming in? Where are they coming from? Which clients are they coming from? In our case, because we support multiple clients, but for you, maybe it's certain channels or certain branches or certain personas. And the idea is that if you go back, and that was one of the reasons why it was over here on this support piece, like what's your role? Obviously, roles do not equate to personas. We know that. But the idea is it's something better than nothing. And we also want to track different things like service level agreements, as well as if there are any recurring issue types. I'm going to show you something here before we leave. that I thought was pretty neat by taking those 1,000. I only took the last 1 month. So I went from beginning of May through, and there was about, I don't know, 400 something tickets, 300 something tickets. And I'm going to show you what those results are, because I'm going to show you how I did it. But basically I produced a top 10 list of things that need to be addressed that were recurring issues. That was all in the tickets. I'll show you how to get there. Little tease. So when we get into I actually want to show you this. I just got it in the wrong spot because stop. So this was the other piece. This is the other piece. So I had ChatGPT build me a web form. And so if you're not using any type of AI, again, check with your company before you just go do it on your own to see if you can leverage AI to help. But in this particular case, they made a web form that it could be hosted on any SharePoint site, as an example, to fill in and then ultimately submit the ticket, kind of a thing. So it doesn't take much. My point for bringing this up is whether it's a PDF fillable or whether it's a web form or whether it's an email, the idea of how you define what you want to happen up in here by building your intake form can help you as you come down to this feedback loop and in working in weekly summary resolutions and those kinds of things. So I want to show you some stuff down at the bottom because I think it's important, and I want to see who thinks they have these kinds of problems in their environment. Marie, you want me to take you off mic? Is that as a response? Let me know in the chat if you have a question or not. So last 30 days, right? This is basically, I'm cheating a little bit. It's just since May 1st. I went through and I fed in, again, it was about 300 different support tickets, and I went down and I fed them into, I produced a report and I fed them into ChatGPT. And I'm like, hey, what are some common issues that we're seeing in all of these tickets? And so this is what the system spit back at me. This is what ChatGPT found in nothing more than the words being used. It didn't have any other frame of reference, any other level of context, but it understood what was going on in those tickets that there was confusion around a workflow task versus a milestone requirement. So what we see in this kind of a ticket is that there's issues around how to finish something. And so it gives us a training need. Now, for those companies for those folks that are on the call today or listening, that you've got training departments, this would be a great opportunity to remind you that, hey, listen, here's an opportunity to train our folks on what they should be doing with the changes, especially if you are in the midst of updating workflow tasks, which is what we saw. We're helping clients move to workflow tasks. So there's still some folks that have some confusion. To continue down here, what we also found was there was problems in understanding milestone triggered emails and notifications to other team members. So what we found is that emails were going to the wrong people at the wrong time. That's what this was all about. And so that gives us as admins a call to action to make sure that the business gives us a chance to better define or more well define when an email goes out under what circumstances. We also found in our ticketing that we had some Investor Connect and product and pricing engine setup issues to go through. We found some field level access and automation issues. So specifically persona-based issues, because there were fields that were being seen. So before I go on, first of all, has anyone ever tried this? Has anyone ever taken all their tickets and fed it into a modeling system, AI system, that allowed you to consolidate into an actionable item? Has anybody actually done that at all on this call? At 31 people. Looks like none. So this is a call to action for you. I'm a big proponent of doing one thing, right? So Lynn said not AI, but Excel report and sorted by username. So Lynn, if you've got it all in Excel, I would encourage you, with your company's permission, to throw it into a company-based account that's either Copilot, right? If you've got Copilot or ChatGPT or whatever, and ask it to find common issues. I don't think Mastering Encompass AI can handle that because that's not what it's built for. Although it is an AI, it's not meant for that type of analysis. But the idea is that you should be doing this today. You can do this today. If you follow me on LinkedIn, every time somebody talks about how AI can help a company, because we've got the data in workflow, I kind of, I rail against it a little bit because people don't understand their workflows. So here's something that you can do AI really strongly with, and also sort by category, ticket category. I think that's great. One thing I'd say to Lynn's comment is, as humans, we're really bad at aggregating large volumes of data into something meaningful. We're just really bad at it. Some people are okay, but mostly we're really bad. And so where I'm leading you is, as I went down, we also found that there was loan movement automation issues that were not being done properly. These are things that you wouldn't normally see. You might see the ticket come in and you might see it resolved, and then was it really fixed? We also found TPO Connect configuration issues where things weren't being routed properly. And again, these are things that we just found across all of our tickets since May 1st. I guarantee if you were to use this type of methodology, you'd also find that there are things happening, nuanced things happening within your tickets that you may not realize are important. So some other things, just to kind of share with you what we found across all of our organizations. Document form automation integration, so specifically with 4506Cs. We also found some business rules being marked as working, although they were not tested properly. Good call out. Consumer Connect issues and online app reviews, and then last but not least, data and compliance validation, specifically in the items that you see here, LEs and HMDA input forms. There's a lot in here, gang. There's a lot of different threads that you can pull on each of these to spill out into training or things that have to be done for different parts of your company. Suggested training. All right, so pop quiz. Who does what's the one I wanted to do on here? Is it on here? No, it's not on here. Who does a workshop with your team? Not training, but actually gets the company, gets a group together that are having these problems and does an actual workshop with them of how to use the thing that we feel that is probably causing problems for the whole. How is this different from training? So Lynn did office hours before. There's a difference between having an open Q&A versus doing a workshop. And so Kelly did a monthly call to review and bring up hot topics. What I would encourage you to do, as crazy as it sounds, is take the training documents that you're using on a particular item. And again, if you're not doing any type of AI review, you don't have to. But if you can figure out what are the common issues that are happening at your company, take that moment to expect that the training documents you have are just not hitting the mark. And this is, again, why is this an admin's job? Why is this your thing? The reason why is because you're getting the support tickets. And so what I usually recommend is to work, again, if you've got a training team, great, collaborate with them. Have them train you on how to use it. See what's missing in that conversation with your users, with your teams that are using the solution the way you designed it. And the reason why I say this is because when you have a workshop, and a workshop again is simply a group time together where you're showing people how to do it and you're making them actually do it themselves. That's a workshop. And the difference between training and a workshop is that last part of my sentence, them doing it also. It's one of the pieces that I stand firm on with our admin training, and when I did like the wrap-up show at ICE, it is, I'm going to say it, I'm going to show you, and then I want you to do it. And that last part is critically important in the training, so that you know that they actually learned what it was. Another way you can do this too, again, for those people that are having trouble with certain items, I always suggest that you have them walk you through how they're going to know how to do it moving forward. It typically works with managers, like somewhere in between. Sometimes folks get annoyed if you're testing them on what they know, even though they say they know it. But yeah, that's an important part of that workshop. Another one that stood out here is a live example walkthrough. You guys know I do a ton of videos. I'm like posting videos every day. Is anyone actually doing a response to a support ticket with a video walkthrough? Is anybody doing that? You're doing it. Sarah, phenomenal. Kelly, you're doing it. Great. And Lynn and Luba, you guys are doing it once in a while. Sandy, sometimes. I think that's my answer too. It's sometimes, and it depends. And what I found is my bar keeps getting lower and lower and lower, mostly because what I find is that in terms of training, which again is a feedback on all this other help desk items, when you start to build up a video library of responses, they become a video library of responses that can be used for training and searching and new user walkthrough or whatever. You guys are getting it. So it may make sense for you guys to actually, if you're used to doing it once in a while, it may make sense to actually do it more than that, especially if you've got tickets that are resulting in the, where was it up in here, where we've got, issues with workflow tasks, like how to use workflow tasks versus milestone tasks. Milestone requirements, how to do certain things at field levels. These are sometimes very intricate movements in the workflow. And what ends up happening is if you go and show somebody how you feel it needs to be done, they might look at it and go, that's not how we do it. And now you get into some workflow opportunities that if they respond back and they say, well, that's not how we do it, all of a sudden now you've got a deeper level of understanding of what the problem might be. Kelly, let me know if you have a question or if you just have your hand up from the previous question. So thanks. So the takeaway here for today, and the part that I skipped over was this reporting, because there's not that many people doing it. But just to let you know, when we go through on a help desk, the first response time can be a little bit, it's like, hey, I have the ticket kind of a thing. The average resolution is really where the money is. So in other words, if you're really watching to see how effective your help desk is in combination with your training and launch, how long does it take to actually solve the things that come in? This was talked about by a few different people where you're creating categories, which is great. Lisa, yes, I will be sharing this document with you. I will also be in the document, where the heck was it? Sorry, I'll fix this because this is a PDF. This actually belongs up, but this link is live. So if you have a Chat GPT account, you can get to it. But yeah, this will be on here. So you got it, Lisa. So some of the other things that are crazy is the reopen rate. Quick question for those that are using ticketing platforms. Do you let your users reopen the ticket or do you make them create a new ticket? Quick, you can put that in the chat if you want. Luba says, how do you deal with reopen rates? Oh, well, Luba, you're talking my language here. So that is a setting within your help desk. That's your problem to figure out. I can't fix that problem. I can tell you in Zoho Desk, I do not allow for that whatsoever. So yeah, check I don't know what you're using. I forget, using Freshdesk or something, but that's a setting in your desk. You gotta manage. So hopefully that answers for you. But yeah, reopen rate's a big thing because for those that use ticketing platforms, you think it's closed and that goes into your SLA and average resolution time, and then the damn thing reopens. And it's kind of like the ticket, but it's not really. It's totally something else. And so I typically don't allow for that. So a reply will reopen a closed ticket within a certain time frame. Again, Archie, that's for those that are reading, that's a setting within your help desk setting. Like that's a choice that's made. Or if it's not, if that's something your help desk platform automatically does, I don't know. I don't have that problem. So I can't answer it for you. Ours is 3 days, Sarah. Yeah, again, that's a choice. That's a choice. I can tell you that from my standpoint, I don't like that. If somebody disagrees that it shouldn't have been closed, they can email me back, and I will, or the help desk, the agent, whatever, will review it to see if it should be reopened. And that's a manual act on the help desk software. The reason why I advocate for this, by the way, is because you're putting your help desk metrics in the hands of somebody besides yourself, and I have a concern over that. That's based in reality. If your team is constantly reopening tickets, then that's a problem with how your help desk is managing tickets. So a user just replying, that's great. I want them to reply, but that doesn't mean the ticket's reopened. And then again, we've already gone over this in here. Escalation rates, CSATs, like this is heavy stuff. That's if you're into this, guys, it'll be in here. Like I said to Lisa, I'll share this document with when the replay for this comes up. But what I wanted to make sure that I drove home in the last 40 minutes really is a help desk is an invaluable resource. Like it's one of the most valuable resources in your entire company as an administrator. And the reason why I feel this way so emphatically is because it's like when I walk into a company on a brand new engagement and they're like, hey, what do you want to go to first? I say, take me to your QA or compliance team and take me to your post closers. It's the first place I go if I have a choice. And the reason why is because I want to know where the problems are. And that's what help desk tells you. It tells you where the problems are. So I'm all for it. Like, hey, how many help desk tickets did we get today? And if they tell me 0, I'm like, well, that's weird. Or if they tell me 300, I'm like, okay, why? But it's never, I'm not basing good or bad feedback on the number, again, unless it's 0, because that's weird. The idea is, why are we getting these? What are the trends? Where are they happening from? Who are the users? Did we just have a release? Did we, whatever, you guys get it, right? Candace says we no longer have our own help desk. We're merged with IT, so we're stuck with the settings IT wants. Yeah, that stinks, Candace. You just got to deal with it. Yeah, I mean, again, I can't solve for that one. But I can say this: if there's Candace, if there's a way, and others that have this same problem that I'm describing, that maybe it's not a problem for you, but I think the reopen is. It's going to be just important to make sure that for tickets that do stand outside of your average resolution time, look to see if they have reopens to determine if you've got other things to think about. Another way to handle this could be to ask the team to, once a ticket gets closed, if they need some more support, go ahead and open up a new ticket. If they want to reference the old number in the request, that's fine. Think about it like ICE, right? ICE, you cannot reopen a ticket. Once it's closed, but you can say, hey, ICE, this is a follow-up to the thing that closed for 2 weeks for inactivity. That ticket number is blah, blah, blah. And they'll tie them together, at least in the notes. So Lynn says, I do struggle with questions that are too basic that should go to managers. Then it's unknown if worthy for back, because it comes back to. So Lynn's describing a classic. Lynn, thanks for that comment, by the way. So it's a classic of, do I just do it because it's going to come back to me anyway? Or do I make the people do what they're supposed to do? And this is a very personal question for your company. This is a culture question. And so What I'm always going to tell you is, Lynn, I'm going to speak to you on this one specifically. Can you pull reports for the volumes of tickets? Like, can you get like decent reporting, kind of like what I'm talking about today? Can you get decent reporting from your system? So let me know about that. And the reason why I ask this question is because that's time. And so when you have your time being taken, that means that you can't focus on the things that you're being asked to get finished. And so where I'm leading you here as a group is that when, let's say I work for you and you've asked me to launch you onto enhanced conditions because you don't have enough time to do it yourself because you're handling all these other things. And we start now. And in the next 2 weeks, for whatever reason, I'm constantly answering questions that have nothing to do with the project. At the end of the 2 weeks, you ask me what work I've done, and I say, well, I didn't do any of that because I was busy answering these other questions. You're not going to be happy. And so that's the reason why I bring this up, and that's a real situation. So Lynn goes on to say it's also hurting customers and staff, so I mostly take it now and give up forwarding. Yeah, we can get pretty good reports. Great, Lynn. So what I would encourage you to do is, as it has a, at your comfort level, run the reports for how many tickets and correlate that to projects that need to get finished that you can't work on because you're handling support tickets. It's one of the reasons why I created the whole help desk offering at my company, was because I wanted to get admins back to adminning, and I knew we could handle the help desk tickets because we know what we're doing. So the idea here for you and everybody else watching this replay is you've got to show your leadership that if they want certain things finished this year, and you can't do that because 30 or 40 or more percent of your day is being taken by support tickets that could have been handled by a manager, there's an opportunity for value. And what I would say to the management at that company is, where you just do me a favor, which one do you want me to escalate? Which one do you want me to work on? Which is higher priority? Is it the help desk things that you want me to work on that could possibly be done by somebody else? Or is it the projects that I think you want me to get done in this period of time? Which would you like me to do? And the business has to make that choice. If there were any business leaders on this call right now or in the room, and I'd ask them that question and I'd say, what would you like them to focus on? They'll probably give me something like, well, it depends on what it is, or depends on who it is, that kind of thing. To which I would say that's fine. But then the deliverable that you want me to get done also depends on when we're going to get it delivered based upon what you just told me. So this is where I come into a sense of me. Like, I'm comfortable in that conversation. Not everybody is. I get that. But the idea is, if you can leverage this information, if you can get this help desk put together and you can get the reporting like I'm talking about and like what Lynn talked about, you can actually build up a recommendation to your company. Put it in writing, because if you don't put it in writing, it doesn't exist. Put it in writing for what's going on. Come up with a game plan for how you want to mitigate that or succeed with that, and then present it to the leadership. It doesn't mean you're going to get your answer. It doesn't mean you're going to get what you want, but you did put it in writing and you did establish what the value was, and that's going to be meaningful for your company to make a decision on. Candace adds, users can email a group and the tickets create automatically in a group, but other tickets are left to someone in IT to assign. Yeah, this workflow that Candace has, we've seen in a couple different of our client engagements, where the tickets go into one place and then they have to assign it to us. And then by the time we had this on a company that just left Encompass, we might not get a ticket for like 2 days. And the user's not happy, really not happy. And they're like, hey, what's the status of this? We're like, dude, we just got this. Like, what's going on? They're like, that's crap. Like, I've been waiting 2 days. So I feel for you, Candace, in that situation. And Lisa, yeah, that's a tough one. All right, so where do we go? I'll send this out. As you guys go through, if you want any help, there's a lot of help on this topic here with other admins here in the Mastering Encompass community. And certainly from my perspective, if you guys ever want to see like how we manage Zoho and how we manage tickets for our 15 different clients and growing, and I can show you how we go through and how we look at that stuff. If you want to get some feedback, let me know. I'll be glad to show it to you. No big deal. Anything I can do to help, I'm here. So almost on schedule. I left about 10 minutes now for any open questions for anything at all. Does anybody have any questions they want to go through? If you want me to take you off mute, let me know. Raise your hand. I'll take you off mute. But any questions on this or any topic whatsoever, again, if it's not on help desk stuff, that's totally fine. Hopefully everybody is through all the pain of 25.2. I think there's a couple more hanging chads out there with regards to stuff that ICE has got to update still to come. But hopefully everybody's a little bit more stable than they were this time last week. Going once? Okay, so stay tuned for the rest of this year for the how-to series. We'll get to it. And as always, thank you, everybody. Make sure that you're using the community for everything it's got, including each other, as well as AI Coach. And if there's anything I can ever do to help, please let me know. If you have any questions, hang out. Otherwise, have a great day. We'll see you now. You got it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming today.